you, Michael, because you can actually do slightly more as a contract, like things like this, like where we kind of partner together and help a lot of these clients out, a lot of these startups out. And so I actually think that's a much better. So the last round, like, Michael helped a lot of our companies in some way or the other. And we had some wins, which was great. We ourselves won an STTR as well, which is great. So I can tell you firsthand that it's just a much better, if you can make it happen, it'll put your proposal in a much better category to be able to win. And that's just because of the nature of the game. It's statistics, right? Like SPIRs, they can give out, whatever, 300 or so a cycle, and they get like 5,000 applications or whatever, right? STTRs, they can still give out, in the range of like 50 to 100, but they get like, 1,000 applications or something. It's like, just the chances of you winning are just much better. And that's purely because STTRs they require, like Michael was saying, they require something like a university partner to go with you. And that's not easy to find. That's just not straightforward for startups to work with universities. And believe me, in the past, I have, and I hope this gentleman is not on this call because I'm going to speak crap about him. But in the past, I have connected someone who really needed help. I mean, they were not getting anywhere with their R&D, plans. And I pretty much personally, and this was a client of ours, we personally connected them with the professor squarely in the space that they're working on. They could have done wonders to that proposal. It's 3 months down the line and they're still dealing with them and they still don't know how to work with the university. And like, it's beyond our ability to actually, work, mentor them on how to work with universities or whatever. And it's not the university's fault in that. It's squarely the entrepreneur's fault for not being able to follow through with that. So it's not easy for entrepreneurs to do that. And because the small business has to be the lead applicant in this, the onus is really on the small business to push it through. So the small business wants the help, they want the money more, and they want to be in the game. They want to play the game to win, right? So it's your job as an entrepreneur to work with the nuances of the university, and we can help you with that, of understanding what goes into that. And from the university side, if any of the folks on the call are from the tech transfer office or whatever, we would love to work with you to streamline the process. At least our goal and our vision is to make it such that we have like boilerplate documents from every university on our platform already that startups can come in and quickly pick and choose, right? Any I want to work with this university, this is the professor, they come in, this is the boilerplate stuff that we need from them. And then any minor tweaking that needs to happen, happens at the startups level on a case-by-case basis. That's kind of our vision. And so we're starting that pilot program with SDSU, with Michael's help, because he's located there. And so we really want to make sure that this works out in the most streamlined way possible. Any specific questions that I can help answer? I can go into a lot of details about STTRs, but any specific things that I can help answer right now? But that's overall, at least your chances of winning are just much better. Just take it from me. Done quite a few of these, seen quite a few of these fail or succeed, depending on where they are. In fact, I even have had customers run experiments, running like putting the same thing like in parallel in different cycles and stuff like that. And it's always I see this time and again, like STTRs, all things being equal, that they like to fund more proportionally more companies, but also they like to fund earlier stage technologies. That's another crucial aspect. So STTRs, they realize that the technology is still being spun out of universities. And so they realize that the commercialization may not have been too advanced. And so while for an SBIR, they prefer companies that are slightly mature, for STTRs, they actually, they actually are very happy funding even earlier stage companies that maybe just at a concept stage or something like that. So two reasons why you really want to go after STTRs, if possible, if we can make it happen.
And Rupak,
can we jump in?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can we jump in, or should we ask at the F&A section? Hello?
Oh, sorry. Hey, Volker, what was that again?
Okay. The question is, can we jump in with questions, or should we ask our questions in the F&A section?
I don't know. There's not too many people, so I don't know. I think it's okay to jump in, and if by the way, if no one has access to
I think I
talk,
raised my hand here, so I wish someone saw that or.
oh yeah. Maybe yeah, raise your hand like Andy, and then I'll kind of like get you as a moderator. But so Volker,
Okay.
Volker, go ahead, and then we'll get to Andy. Thanks, Andy.
Okay, I totally understand what Rupak said about this STTR, and it's much higher chance to win the race. The question for us is actually, it's more likely how to find, or how can we find the right university to work with. So we had started to reach out to Texas State, but for us it was bad that the key person is going to Australia right now. So actually we are just starting from the ground zero again. So is there any help and how the process would look like?
Yeah, do you want to take that, Michael? Do you want me to take it? Or we can both take it one after the other?
Yeah, let's, you go first.
Okay, so yeah, Volker, I mean, that's definitely one of the pain points that a lot of entrepreneurs have. So for that reason, we actually won an STTR the last round to solve exactly that problem. And so right now we're coming up with a tool that will kind of, like de novo be able to match, startups with universities, with university professors who are working squarely in the space and create those de novo connections. But that's in development. What we can do now, at least, is we have a roster of professors who have demonstrated interest in partnering with companies, and we have their areas or whatever. And then we're going to have, and I'm going to put a form here that has an interest form for US companies to put in your interest and demonstrate what you're working on. And then we can create the connection, we can introduce you guys, and then depending on how much help you're looking for, you can proceed on that side. At least that's our current manual way of making connections. And then we're coming up with a more automated, more scalable way over the next couple of months. So stay tuned for that automated way. But right now we can at least do it more manually. So if you guys already wanted to, I can throw that link up here if I can find it. There we go.
I just threw the, oh, that's right. Yeah, go ahead, Rupak. Hey, one of the things that I wanted to mention to everybody on the call as well is that one of the reasons like why I think, at least personally, that Air Force open topics are so interesting is that typically the way that SIVRs and STTRs have been used over the past several decades is that the offices and the elements across government that have been using them have almost kind of been like expected to know everything that there is possibly to know about what the ideal solutions are that can solve their problem. So as a result, the contracting officers and the TPOCs are kind of pigeonhole themselves into a very strict set of ideal requirements for the solutions that they think could be best be solving their problem. However, the Air Force's concern has been like, hey, we don't actually know what we don't know. The world of tech is moving so fast. If there's a solution that can solve a general set of guidelines about a particular problem, then they don't need those startup applications, like those startups and their applications don't really need to hit all of those specific like guidelines, because we want to hear from those startups because they might help us think through ways to solve problems that we otherwise may not know about. And then secondly, even if there is not a focus area that is relevant to your startup, you should still apply anyway, because this Air Force really wants to hear from startups that they may not know of, and that may be tackling a problem that they really haven't generated into or developed into a formal focus area. So I listed all of the focus areas in the chat box, so you can kind of search through them, and whether there's a focus area that's relevant to you or not. I would still strongly suggest you looking into applying.
Yeah, like we do this better with the companies who are working with us right now, but basically focus areas are a great way. The way you want to think about focus areas, like they're basically the way that happened was AFWorks basically went and asked a lot of the Air Force people. They had an email blast that went on all the Air Force people, and they were like, hey, if you guys are having any trouble with your current jobs, put this in and we'll find small businesses to find solutions for you or whatever. And so there were a few Air Force people who went in and populated those those problems which got labeled as focus areas or whatever. But that by no way is that list exhaustive, right? There's like maybe in the range of like, hundreds or so. But if you can imagine the Air Force, I mean, the total Air Force ecosystem is what, like 50K, 70K employees or something? What is it, Michael? I don't remember on top of my head, but it's like, it's a country of itself.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like
Very
there's
hard.
no way, yeah, the way I put it is like, there's no way that if you're working on any kind of technology that's relevant to this planet, there is no way that you will not find a fit within the Air Force, because the Air Force is its own ecosystem and they want to fund everything to do with either their people, their equipment, their bases, their cyber infrastructure, or anything, all of the above, right? Or anything to do with their life, their way of life. So that's, unless you go into like things like therapeutics. So like if you say that, oh, I want to basically cure cancer, and Air Force has a different weird way of working with cancer or whatever, that's not going to fly, right? You can't like, that's not like that's a like round hole square peg kind of a problem. But as long as within reason of what you're proposing has an application to the Air Force needs, believe me that you will find a fit. And those focus areas, I just want to make that clear, because a lot of people look at those focus areas, do a quick Control F, they don't find what they're working on, and they give up. That's just not the goal of that list. That list is just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that they're looking to fund. And that's just purely because they've had some people within the Air Force who've gone ahead and thrown out that this is the problem that we're facing or whatever. But by no means is that, it's not even like close to, I would say it's not even close to like 1% of all the Air Force needs. So take that as like a statistic.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rupak. Or go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I posted my question, but maybe I can just ask verbally. Are there any open topic STTR from the Air Force currently active?
Oh yeah, the current round has STTR open topics right now, so you can definitely apply to that. That's the one you would definitely want to apply for. And for you guys, right? We already chatted about, so you guys definitely want to get on a call and figure out how to apply for that, for sure.
Hello. Hello.
And then
Andy,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think
Sorry.
Andy and go ahead, Andy, man.
Hey, why are you guys laughing with me?
No, not you. It's just like Michael. Yeah, I was laughing. Like Michael's struggling to deal with. Yeah.
I'm glad that I brought some enthusiasm here. You guys were so serious since we started. So
go ahead.
Yeah, well, as I said, I'm very excited being with you guys, and it's such a privilege. I'm speaking from Boston, Massachusetts. Well, long story short, as I wrote is something there just to stick with you and maybe receive some feedback from the email too. Because I think that 1 hour time is not 1 hour time of this meetup is not long enough for us and for what we have to discuss, I think, and I feel the same thing for everyone else that is participating here. Well, yeah, I mean, I've started, and I'm in the stage right now that I've collected a lot of information and materials, mostly online, as well as some hardwares regarding of one project idea I've been developing. Well, long story short, I was 9 to 10 years old, and I was a child in the middle of a civil war in my country back then, in 1997. So believe me, whoever that would be experiencing that kind of feeling, being in the middle of the civil war with the guns everywhere being shooted, like you're really gonna feel what security means, and I mean how important that is. So I think that deeply this was the initiator that pushed me, like in my unconscious part, to check and push myself, even though I wasn't even feeling and finding where this drive comes from. But since I grow up more and I find out myself within that, must be this the unconscious reason that pushes me to find something that is like kind of provides security and safety and all these things. So, well, yeah, long story short, I've like designed, let's say, I think it's my idea, as long as I research around, a design that has like a function in itself as well. So it's like a jet. The jet has a different certain shape because make the jet to function the way that's supposed to, etc. So yeah, well, and then I think yeah, it's like a multi-purpose and has a lot of multi function in different environments. So independently, beside any environment condition, extreme one, this vehicle will work like normally and efficiently to fulfill the duty or the mission though. And so I'm not sure where this project idea will bring me, but I'm trying to push myself as hard as possible. And funding this by myself is kind of hard as I restarted my studies now. I have a bachelor degree in philosophy, like from my country, but you know, maybe philosophy is pushing in some other directions, as is this one now. And so I've started here in Boston in a community college, IT for cybersecurity, and then I'm going to transfer for mechanical engineering. I mean, maybe it looks like a little bit of jumping here and there, but I have all the pieces that I'm looking for. That's my point. So I'm interested in what you guys can give me any feedback, though. I think I finished now, though.
Yeah, I would say thank you, Andy. It's like I'd be more than happy to follow up with you after the call. I can give you my my email address, which you probably already have, but happy to kind of to provide some more detailed feedback. Just some initial pointers is that I mean, one, just thank you so much for your interest. Number two, we're there's some really good resources that I might be able to send your way, and would really love to help you level up in any way that I possibly can. So I would say, you have like the typical founder's dilemma of working on a potentially really good idea, but then just it's really hard to bootstrap businesses. And then also, like, anytime that you're raising money from outside investors, like, you typically have to sell a portion of your company, like, in order to do that. And this is where the government funding side is really attractive, is that it could help you further bootstrap your company, and maybe even help it grow a little bit if you could figure out the right ways to kind of navigate the ecosystem. And there's some really great resources, like mostly through like in your neck of the woods, there might be some other NSIN folks that you could potentially work with. Number two, there's the local PTAC, which I forget the name of the acronym, but it's like the procurement. What is the PTAC stand for, Rupak? It's like
Technical Assistance Center.
Yeah, there's a local PTAC that you could potentially, and they're a local government entity that their jobs really are truly to help startup founders like yourself to find non-dilutive funding sources across government. They may not know about these Air Force open topics, which are really quite revolutionary for and very forward thinking for the government to use. And then there's also one of my secret weapons is the Public Spend Forum. They have a really phenomenal boot camp. It's like an email-based boot camp that's like a 14-week long series where you can just sign up. It's like completely for free, and it will teach you everything that you need to know about how to get your startup applying to these different government funding opportunities. So those could be some really good resources. Does that sound good for now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sounds so great to me, though. So yeah, please reach you. I'm gonna reach you out when we finish this conference, and I'll be probably in my work time that time, but I can still chat and then send you feedback. And yeah, I mean, I'm very beginning in all this. I'm really not like quite sure what.
Yeah, that sounds great. Really looking forward to it. All right, let's move on to the next person that has their hand up. Go ahead, Zeph.
Hey, Michael and Rupak. How you guys doing?
Hey, Zeph, how are you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. Hey, so one quick question for the STTR. When we're working with the university, does the university have to be a US university?
Yeah, it has to.
Oh,
like no SBR, STR money can go abroad right now. At least at this stage,
I mean,
you can negotiate.
I guess, is there any scenarios where, like, what if the university is collaborating with, like, one of the things we're looking at is an Australian university that's working on recycled plastic filament. So we do 3D printing, right? So that's of interest to us. They have collaborations with US universities, but they are the primary, like, I guess, researcher. So that there's no, I guess I'm just asking, is there any scenarios where there's been collaborations with, say, 2 universities and then a small business, or is that too complex?
Yeah, no, so at least at the phase 1 stage, it's not worth their time to get into this sort of negotiation with the contracting officer at the phase 1 stage. It has happened before and some agencies do that on a case-by-case basis, where you can demonstrate that there's really no other way of getting the material or the expertise. Maybe that's just the one expert in the whole world who's doing that or something like that. That has happened in the past, but it is rare and it's not standard. Definitely not for a phase 1, because phase 1 is just customer discovery. Like, you don't need to partner with exactly. So what you want to do probably in your case is the guy who has the US collaboration, put them as the subcontractor, and then just have a pro bono, like, out of the contract consulting agreement with your Australian guy. Show them as part of your team, but not actually drawing funds from your project. That's probably the only way I think you can make the three-way collaboration work. Just show your team's strength using the foreign person, but don't make very, very clear that you're not giving any money to anyone abroad.
Okay.
At this stage.
Okay. Well, I mean, to be honest, it does sound like a better option to kind of do a new search, because I mean, the area is not. It's not like they're the only expert; they're the most prolific experts in this area right now, and so a lot of their research is public. It's just, we have an existing relationship with them, and that's the reason I was trying to, like, one of the challenges is building new relationships with academic partners, and working with them, is also, it's going to take time and effort. So that's what I was trying to leverage, the existing relationship. But I think from what you're saying, it may not sound like this is worth something I'll probably pursue.
Yeah, it is hard, which is why the competition is lower, which is why there's better chances to win. But it's also, you've got to think about it this way. You're developing a relationship for like $1 million of funding eventually, and more, right, potentially. And so it's probably in your best interest to build those relationships ASAP. Even if not for the current round, you can apply for the fall cycle with that, right?
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
All right, take it away, Serge. Is that okay, Rupak?
Yeah.
Thanks, Seth.
Hey, Rupak. Hi, it's Serge here. It's a really simple question, which is there a different, so I know you're talking mostly about STTRs today, but with SBIRs as well. Is there a difference in the way that the research is viewed? Because let's say, for example, Andy earlier, he was talking about working on the robot, etc. Right? So there's going to be some aspects which are going to be fundamental research, and there are going to be some aspects which are going to be product development or sort of go-to-market engineering. Is there a difference between the agencies in how they view the use of funds in that grant, like in the SBIR or the STTR? And I'll give you an example, which is like, let's say the National Science Foundation, they will basically give, SBIRs, but they're very much for like risky primary research.
Yeah, absolutely. And Serge, correct me if I'm wrong. Your name sounds really familiar. Have we?
Yeah, no, we connected on LinkedIn. I was at your last thing because I'm actually a reviewer, an SBI reviewer, but I'm very
that's
keen
right.
like you.
Okay, perfect.
Very keen like you to get this out to a lot of people. And the biggest misconception I see is in applications up to now is like, they will submit great ideas and great teams for funds for progressing their company, but
they won't realize that
they're not research. It's like turning into a product. But it is something that I personally want to get very clear, because I want to go out and try and empower people to do the right thing.
Yes. Yeah. No, this is definitely one of the biggest. And right now we're running an NSF cohort on our side where we have to go through and make sure people understand what that's really for.
Yes.
No,
I was going to
exactly.
say, I mean, Phil, and this is also for Michael as well, because, you know, it seems like, Michael, you have a lot of knowledge, domain knowledge in this area, but is there a difference between, let's say, getting a grant from the Air Force on the research on this side and versus, say, the NSF, which is the only one I really know about, and the NIH?
Yeah, so first off, just to start, Air Force SPRs or STTRs are not grants, they're contracts. And so fundamentally, they're actually for a different purpose altogether.
Right.
NSF, NIH, those sorts of agencies give you grants for investigator-initiated work, which basically means that the investigator is initiating some kind of a research project that has a potential to be commercialized. But that's what it is. It's got potential to be commercialized. It's not that you're asking for funds to conduct Facebook marketing ads, or it's not, or you're not just developing straightforward software using off-the-shelf tools or whatever. That's basically not what NIH and NSF grants are for. I would say that fundamentally, Air Force and some of the DoD agencies, because they're giving you contracts, they actually do want an actual product out of it. So they are much more focused. They're much more focused on companies that can deliver, because it's a contract to do work that has to be delivered to the agency. So they actually have deliverables to the agency. So if you look at the format of the proposal, even that looks totally different from an NIH or an NSF grant.
Yeah, got it.
And so, yes, you'd still have to propose things that that fall into the realm of RDT&E, which is like, research, development, technology, all that stuff. Because the SPR program is mandated to fund research, right? Mm-hmm. But the focus on developing a product, that is just much stronger from the DoD side, because they want to acquire the product eventually. And so they like to fund companies that have a very strong focus on how are you going to move this forward with development? How late are you in the development stage? How high of a TRL, so technology readiness level, how high of a TRL are you in right now? For SPRs, for STTRs, they like funding earlier stage, lower TRLs, because they realize that it's coming from professors who haven't yet thought about how to commercialize stuff, etc. And so that's kind of there's definitely a major difference in the approach. So you don't propose things like, I'll do this X, Y, and Z basic research that will take 2 years to even come to fruition. You don't do that with the Air Force. If you do that, you probably won't win.
Got it. That's great. And just leading on from that, which is, does Turbo SBIR provide example documents for the different agencies, like for tone, style, and form like that? Because that's actually been one of the hardest things to be able to get for applicants, is like, look, here's an example of like how you would present it.
Yeah, exactly. No, so for folks who are here, who are actually, some of them are our customers already, they can speak to this as well. But so we have, like, at least the popular ones like NIH, NSF, Air Force, we have samples of things that have been successful in the past that people can benchmark against to make sure that what they're writing is at least speaks the same tone and language and plays in the same ballpark of something that has worked in the past. And in addition to that, we have weekly, cohort calls with all our customers to ensure that they're going along the same lines. Plus, we have a bunch of help from writers who also help people out with writing, and really, really affordable. We also have like $0 upfront kind of writing support. So yeah, we do a pretty good job with making sure that our customers at least understand what it takes to win.
Absolutely. No, I was going to say, it's very impressive what you guys are doing. I just only uncovered it last week. So
yeah. Perfect. No, it's so great to be connected with you. Yeah, and then Public Spend Forum guys are great. I've spoken to Raj and Ben and Frank, and so they're pretty awesome.
Buck, we got some more questions.
Yeah, let's go through it.
So the next question is, can you explain how Turbo SBIR receives compensation for helping with AppWorks or the NSF submission process? I know there are others who take a percentage of the award, and in some cases, all future awards in government. Could you answer that question?
Yeah. I started answering that already for Serge's question. But basically, we are a tech company, so we have software that helps automate a lot of this process and kind of walks you through step by step of what's needed to get done. That base plan, we basically charge you guys a flat $100 a month. As long as you're on our system, as long as you're working with us, that $100 a month you'll be paying us. And we have some discounts for folks who are partnered, like if you're from some sort of an incubator that's partnered with us or something like that. And then with NSIN, we're trying to create a relationship as well, where we can make that somewhat affordable for you guys as well. But $100 a month still should be very affordable for everyone. That's the base plan. That's where you can get on our calls, our weekly calls. We guide you through everything that needs to get done. And we also do like a line-by-line review of everything that you produce to make sure that we tell you if something's not looking up to the mark, then we'll tell you what needs to happen. That's what you get for $100 a month. Then if you need someone from our side to actually go in and edit your stuff or write your stuff or do actual hands-on work on your project, that's when you can basically either pay us upfront for a very affordable flat fee compared to other consultants outside, or you can sign the success fee agreement, which is basically where we will ask you to give us the profit fee from your project. That's the $0 upfront kind of writing support that you can get from us. We don't take, we take that 7% for any work that we help you with, not for everything on the planet that you guys are going to go after, where we may or may not help you. That's just unethical. But we basically, the agreement says that, as long as we've helped you with something that helps you get money, then we deserve to get that 7% from that. So if you work for, and then we have a cap on that. So phase 2 obviously is much more money. So 7% of that becomes ridiculous. And so we have a cap on that 7% as well. So it's phase 1, 7%, but phase 2 is we have a cap for that. That's kind of how we get, so that's the different options, right? So depending on where you are with your startup's budget, so far we've had every kind of startup who's been able to get our help, even from like the garage entrepreneur, solo person, all the way to Series A funded companies who have a lot of budget. So across the board, depending on how much money you have, depending on how much time you have, you can choose any of these options. So we've tried and made it as affordable as possible. We want to make it completely free, but that's where we need someone like, an NSIN or someone like an AFWorks or one of these government agencies to then pay for the platform. Then we can make it completely free for everyone. But as of now, we still have to live and survive. So we still have to charge you the $100 a month at the bare minimum.
Yeah, Rick, thank you, Rupak. Rick, there's some other entities that you should know about, and it's and I'll just say them really quick. They kind of specialize in helping startups get awards, because you can either, and the option that you have is that you can either decide to apply for these opportunities yourselves, but then I really wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Like, not that I have any, at least I hope not. But there's I just not like they're just you have to be very, very detail oriented, and some startups actually do that. They just say, hey, we're gonna figure out how to do this on our own, and they won't utilize any external help. And then there are other startups that do decide to partner or work with other other organizations that can help them apply to these opportunities. And just a couple names of good organizations that I've heard about that are doing good work for startups. One is called SBIR Advisors, based in Texas. Another one is called Long Capture. There's also C5 BDI. There's another group called the Outpost, and then there's also your local PTAX too. I would just encourage you to reach out to all of them, like if you haven't already, and it sounds like you might have already, and because I don't know how each of them charge, but I imagine that's there's a mixed model where some may charge like something up front, and then others may not charge anything up front, but then have a really significant percentage of the winnings that they get to. So I'm not really quite sure. And then and Rupak, Rick also asked, have you seen a higher success rate when your team writes their submissions?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's kind of why we do such a good job with our folks. So, and I also want to mention, so out of that list, SPR Advisors, who Michael mentioned, they actually are our official partner as well. So a lot of our writing support comes through them. And so you get that regardless of whether you're working. Let's say when you're working with us, you'll get their help regardless. And even if you work with them, they use our software to handle a lot of their clients now as well. I mean, we're transitioning for all of their clients to be being handled on our software as well. So either way you work with either of us, you'll be using the same kind of system. And I think there was someone here who was an SPR Advisors customer who's using our system right now. I saw the name and I can't find it anymore. But anyways, and then other models like long capture and C5B, they're all awesome. And even the SBDC, a lot of people don't realize that your local SBDC sometimes also has SPR support. It's just all of these ones that are, if they're government funded like SPDCs or PTACs, they have limits to what they can help with, just because it's not economic for them to be able to do a lot on a per person basis. And then for consultants, because they have a model that's not very scalable, they have to charge you more. So some of them have like retainers, like lawyers, they'll charge you a retainer up front, and then they'll charge you the success fee on the back of it, or it just depends. All kinds of models that exist out there. So definitely do your due diligence in figuring out what works best for you. And the success rate wise, yeah, so the nationwide average for all SBRs across all agencies is anywhere between 12 to 15%. I think AFWorks, the last couple of rounds has dropped to less than 10% for phase ones, which is kind of really difficult just because there's so many companies now applying. Our success rate, we've actually always maintained at over 35%, always, like ever since we started. It used to be like 60, 70% initially. And we've gone down to 35%, just the more volume that we've received. So that's kind of where we are. It's still more than double of the national average. And so we still do a really, really good job. But our mission is to do that for all companies, as opposed to some of the consultants who pick and choose who they work with. So so if you ask me what's the success rate for companies that are traditional SPR type of companies, then that's obviously very, very high, because then those are like academics who have really strong backgrounds and all. They're the right profile that agencies want to fund all the time, and so obviously those success rates are much higher. But if you ask about if it's a first-time startup, like really green in understanding how these programs work, even those, our mission has always been take novices and convert them into pros. That's always, it's on our homepage, right? It's like we convert inexperienced founders into pros at SPR. So that's kind of always been our mission. Anyhow,
let's see, Rupak, we got some quick questions from Lilia, it looks like. I'm sorry.
Exactly, yeah, the STTR success rate's higher.
Okay, can the same pairing of startup researchers apply for and potentially receive multiple STTR contracts?
So
I
not the
right? As long as
not the researcher, not the academic, if that's what your question is. The academic is not the applicant who receives the money. It's always the small business who's got to be the applicant.
And then the small business will share it with the faculty member, right?
It's a subcontract. So the money goes to the small business. Small business then pays the university for milestones. That's kind of how it works. The university never interfaces directly with the agency, never.
Got it.
It's always a subcontract from the small business. Anyhow, but yes, so the answer is absolutely, you can win multiple ones. I've had companies apply for like 4, 5, 6, 10 proposals a cycle, and they win multiple ones, but they all have to be different topics or different technologies. They can be for the same topic. You could be addressing and solving the same topic with like 5 different approaches, totally different technologies, right? So your focus area could be the same, but you could be addressing it with different sorts of capabilities that your company has. Just giving it the chance, like which one of them is going to work out, nobody knows, right? So you're giving it a chance. And so different technologies, different capabilities is what you can apply to different proposals with.
Yeah. Also, a follow-up question: do the startup and researchers need to be disjoint? Like example, can a startup that's been founded, owned, or advised by a particular professor also apply for an STTR award with that professor's research institution?
Yes, happens very, very commonly. In fact, in that situation, they also allow the PI to be the professor and have basically split jobs with the university and with the startup. So that's definitely allowed in STTR. For an SBIR, the PI has to be majority employed by the startup. So that's kind of the nuance there that you have to follow. But yes, it's very, very common where a startup founded, a spun off by the professor, becomes the lead applicant, and then the professor's own lab at the university becomes a subcontractor. And you just have to very clearly draw lines of conflicts of interest, and you just have that documentation in place. So you can't be seen as just funding yourself on both sides. So you have to just be careful about that.
And then Rupak, we got one from Michael. He's just asking like where the Excel, like what the back end, like that Airtable link that you want to use for collecting interested parties, like on the faculty and startup side, like where does the back end go to that? Like the where's the database
Excel,
that Airtable link?
So I'm not following the Excel spreadsheet. Which spreadsheet is it?
I think Michael's talking about the Airtable link that you sent out for everyone to kind of register their interest.
That's just a forum. Yeah, I mean, that just tells us, both Michael and I, if you guys are interested, and we can make connections that way. That's all it is. This one?
Oh yeah, maybe it's that one.
Or is he talking about the focus areas Excel sheet? Which one is he talking about?
I'm not sure. I'm assuming that it's the yeah, I'm not sure what Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, we haven't shared an Excel spreadsheet before. So Michael, do you want to unmute and just ask your question?
Oh, sure.
No, Michael, as in Michael, the guy who's asking the question. Do you want to unmute and ask your question? Because we haven't shared an Excel spreadsheet. What Michael shared before was a website that has a list of focus areas from the Air Force, and that can be downloaded as a CSV file. And maybe that's what you're talking about.
Hello, if you're talking, I don't know if I'm the Michael you're referring to. I'm the one that's, so I clicked on a link and I downloaded the focus area with a lot of titles. And I'm trying to figure out, these titles are pretty general, but there's a couple that might overlap with what we do. And I'm trying to figure out where the backup for example, dynamic cognitive network management, or use of artificial intelligence. Where's the backup? Where's the description of these possible, I guess, contracts?
Yes, so if you look at that sheet, Michael, there should be a full row for each of those things, a full row, and one of the cells in that row should have slightly more detailed description. Some of them don't have descriptions. It's just the source of this sheet was, like, I think I mentioned this before on the call. Basically, the AFOX team had asked a lot of the Air Force people to submit problem statements that they were experiencing as a way to let the small businesses know that these are problems that are available to solve right now if you wanted to, but it's not exhaustive. So even if your interest, even if what you work on overlaps somewhat with any of those, you can be rest assured that what you're working on has a fit within the Air Force. And so that's what the open topics are for, right? You're proposing to them and telling them that, like, what you're working on has a potential fit. They may or may not know about it, but that's your job to tell them that, look, this is what we're working on. This is where it might fit. Give us the money and we'll find out more about what the fit could be like.
Okie dokie. So maybe I missed this, but then who do I talk to? Where is the contact person for this? Or
no, so exactly. So they don't give those out, at least initially, for phase ones, because otherwise the Air Force, employees would be hammered with requests. And so what you can do maybe, and this is a wild card, on DSIP, you can go in and post questions. Actually, no, you can't do that anymore because today that period closed. So there's when they release a pre-solicitation, which is a month before the actual solicitation opens for submissions, that 1 month period is when you can ask questions to the program officers or the contracting officers for the different kinds of components, the Air Force, Army, military, all different topics that they have. For open topic focus areas, they may or may not respond, because that's what is like. Sometimes they give you the point of contact for that specific line item, or sometimes they don't. And it's basically, they do give you that once you get a phase 1 award. So you propose your phase 1 for that particular focus area. And then if you do get a phase 1 award, then in that program, when you get the award and when you're going through calls with them, they will let you know that, that if you want to reach out to any of your focus area points of contact, then they can send your stuff over to them and ask them if they want to get on a call with you. So it's like this brokered sort of an approach that they take, just to avoid Air Force employees being completely like, like their inbox is full with small businesses trying to reach out and get on calls with them, initially at least.
All righty, thank you.
No problem. Cool. What else going on, Michael, on the chat?
Let's see. I think we've caught up with all of the questions so far.
Yeah, I see one from Mark. Mark, they do now a little bit more than what maybe your experience was before, because maybe your experience when 2019 was they were still trying to figure out, what to do with the open topics. And so now at least they do a little bit more of sending your stuff out to different people who you want to send it to, etc. But yes, it's more on the small businesses, onus to find the right fit, where they fit. They give you guidance on who to contact. They give you some kind of, they do pass your stuff around. They pass your slide decks around to different people. So sometimes they help you a little bit more on that side. And depending on how easy or hard it is to find a fit for your tech, you might have to do more or lesser work on that. So.
Yeah, it looks like Rick also asked, can we talk more about the inventor founder should find a research partner for an STTR? Hey, Rick,
So,
are you asking how? Like how a founder?
Yeah, I'm just, that was one of the things that attracted me to today, was that whole thing of finding the connection at a university. I've been, actually, I just finished a master's at University of Texas at Dallas. I have really strong connections with the engineering department there, but excellent. I guess they just don't have people who are interested in VR locomotion specifically. And I know there are doing some work at a couple other universities, but I'm just curious if there were some other ways. And I think UT Dallas would be interested in improving the ways that we can connect founders and entrepreneurs. I mean, founders and researchers.
Yeah, there's a, did we just connect on LinkedIn, by the way? I forget, there was someone else from UT Dallas that signed up for this.
I didn't sign up as UT Dallas. Steve Gingrich may have.
Okay, I'm forgetting who it was, but yeah, in any case, yeah, you can bottom line for the STTRs, which as Rupak mentioned, it's like I also am getting the sense that SBIRs are really impacted, especially if you go direct to phase 2. And I just kind of think most people aren't thinking about STTRs. They may not pay out as much, but I think that they would be an easier way in just to get your foot in the door. And once you get in the door, it makes it much, much easier for Air Force and other DoD and maybe even other government entities to start working with you more. And so I would say the general approach would be, one, find, you could work with any university that you would like. It really just has to be a nonprofit research partner, which and universities are included in that. So you could work with, UT Dallas, and you can, work through their Office of Innovation and Commercialization just to kind of get a sense for what help they could provide you with, or just tell them what you're working on and get a sense for, and ask them hey, who on the faculty side might be good to partner with us? I'm thinking about applying to an STTR. And then sometimes based on your, that is certainly one direction to pursue. I would not stop there. I would also, maybe even reach out directly to faculty chairs and ask them if they could send out a notice to their faculty in a specific department. And then number 3, you could actually, just, Google certain faculty on campus and, or based on universities, and you can, and you could just message, the faculty directly. And then just, lastly, it's I'm stationed at San Diego State University, which I know is in California and you're in Texas. But if you are interested, there might be some faculty at SDSU that I can put you in touch with too. So just, keep me posted.
Yeah, it's I am extremely well connected with UT Dallas, and I've been yeah, frustrated. Yeah, in fact, the two guys that I passed on the connection to this are both one's involved with corporate engineering relations, and the other is in the innovation and research office. So yeah, I'm connected. Just been oops. Am I still? Are you still there?
Yeah, we can
Okay. Hear you. But you know, it's just sometimes it's a pig in a poke, because the professors may or may not have. They may have an interest, but then they don't have the student to work on it, or you know, it's kind of a chicken and the egg problem, or maybe the student comes with an interest. I don't know. Anyway, and it's really amazing how specialized, because I found a guy that just joined the UT Dallas campus, talked to him. His interest is in VR haptics, which I think I would maybe fall under, but no, he's more interested in output than input. So it's kind of,
those sound like good connections for you to pursue, and it absolutely is a chicken and egg problem. And also sometimes what I'm hearing is that the STTRs may not be big enough for certain kinds of faculty,
especially the phase one,
especially if like they're funded well. So I think the play there is like, hey, do you want to partner on an opportunity to work with a very forward thinking and kind of thought leader, like in open topic like SBIRs and STTRs. Like, that's kind of one angle, and totally happy to help you too. So if you we do have NSIN folks that are stationed out your way at Rice University, and then in Austin, two folks in Austin. So it's not quite Dallas. My family's from Dallas, but we.
I'm a member of the Capital Factory, so
awesome. Okay.
Also connected it there. I've tried to talk to some of the NSIN DISP people. I've been around the community for a while. So
okay. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. I can send you my. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, actually, so fellow Capital Factory member here. So hey, how's it going? Yeah. So it's a problem that I've heard time and again, for sure, right? Like the way you want to handle this is you need to, so tech transfer people generally are not the right people who you want to talk to first. They are the people who professors generally will go to when they need help, and it doesn't flow the other way generally. There are some tech transfer officers who are much better at that than others, but by and large, like they are more reactive as opposed to proactive for the most part. So you want to go to the professor first, and we've made some of these connections for our customers where we find the professor who might be a really good fit, and the sell to them always is, it's not about that much money, because if they're a professor currently working on stuff, they generally have money from somewhere that they're working on. Yes, always more is better, but like you said, 50K, 100K, 1 million starts to make a dent. But the sell generally to them is, do you want, so you're never going to commercialize your stuff yourself just because you don't want to quit your job. You probably want to find a partner who's actually going to make something happen in the commercial world with your stuff. Do you want your stuff to get out or not? That's usually the best sell that I've found to work, like, the professors, because for them, you have to realize that academic grants nowadays actually also have a requirement to include a section on commercial impact or, potential impact outside of basic research that they have to put in. And so they can easily take this and slot it into all the academic grants, now saying that, oh, we're working with this small business to commercialize our stuff or whatever, making impact on the environment, all that stuff. It's really an advantage for them to partner with you on all sorts of things that the professor may not be thinking about at the time. So the sell from you always, and when we make introductions, that's kind of how we kind of couch it. And for some people, it's just the lure of money, which is the minority, but the majority is the real attraction of, okay, you know what, I don't have to do any of the work on the company side, but I get to, live the company life through somebody else. And my technology actually gets to see the light of day eventually. That's usually a much, much better sell, and it works great. And especially if you tell them that, look, I'll do all the work, we'll do all the work, we'll handle all the paperwork, We just need you and your research background, your expertise to guide us along the process, and that's all. And then it can help fund their students. It can help fund their postdocs and grad students or whatever. And that's another sell point that generally works, where it's like, it's not that you currently need a person working on it. You ask for the money to get the student or the grad or the postdoc or whatever working on it. So a couple of tricks there. And then obviously, if you need help from us, just I've thrown that Airtable link out for you guys to at least tell us that you guys are interested. Yeah, so at least then we can start making some connections for you guys with people who we think might be a good fit. And we'll have a much more automated process eventually for this. But right now, at least it's a pilot experiment to see if it works.
When I've done application for AFWorks and for SBIR for NSF. Both failed. And I had help on both of them. So I had help from Aero Innovate on the AFWorks, and then I had help from Jim Greenberg, consultant on
Jim. Yeah, I know Jim from Texas.
So I had him I got some help on the NSF on that. And then I had a conversation with the investigator, principal investor, or whatever it's called.
PO, the program officer.
PO, program officer, after the fact. And, I didn't shoot any bullets at her, but, they clearly missed the boat on the, on what it is, because the reviewers thought it was not anything, or something. Anyway. I didn't do a good job of explaining it, or I didn't do a good enough job of explaining the potential. This has a strong commercial potential, and it is groundbreaking. So it's hard, but and a similar product sold 40 million. So a similar product, not directly competitive, but very similar. So there's potential on the upside. But anyway. One question I had on the STTR, or even for any of that matter on an SBIR, is it does seem to want you to name or provide the name of the principal, the person, not the principal investigator. That definitely has to be named. But let's say that you have some other people working on it. Do you have to name them?
Yeah, so that's another reason why your proposal may have been shot down, is if you don't have a good team identified already. Working on it. So it has happened before where all you have is a PI and you're going to say everybody else is a TBD. When I get the money, I'll hire them. It has happened before. It's rare. It's much rarer nowadays, just because everybody now realizes that startups, there's a lot of support for them everywhere, with incubators popping up everywhere. And there's this just a lot of people want to work in startups nowadays just because it's glamorous or whatever. And so people and reviewers have started to see, and maybe Surge here can chime in here, they've started to see stronger and stronger teams competitively in different proposals. And so then you find a proposal that's like very weak on the team, or there's like questions of whether they can get the right people or not. That's definitely going to, that you're going to get a dent on that score for sure. And it's always a balance of all the different scores, right? Team, commercialization, innovation, all that stuff. And so your team score goes down. What you can do, at least to circumvent some of that stuff, is at least put in who you're expecting to get. So for example, I've seen companies put in things like, here's the job description of the kind of person who I'm thinking of getting. Here's an example CV of or whatever of the kind of person I'm getting. Or you can find the person. You don't have to actually employ them, right? You just get a letter.
Yeah, actually, that's what I did. That's what I did. I had people's names in there. And in fact, I had a strong PI in both cases. So I don't know. I don't think that was, I don't think in my case it was the team. I was just curious about that. But your answer is very good, is that you want to definitely describe, it's better to almost have a placeholder in there, even if they're not available at the time you get the award.
And not just a placeholder, right? You can have an actual conditional offer letter for them signed, conditioned upon like getting the grant, right? Or getting the money. So you can basically show the agency that you've done your due diligence in that you are going to execute on this regardless. And if the agency funds it, great. If not, you'll find a way. And that's no different from talking to an investor out, right? Investors generally like funding companies that are not going to die. So if you go to investor and say, look, if you don't fund us, we won't survive. That's the worst pitch to give to an investor, right? So the investor wants to only fund companies that have good runway, that already are going to do this regardless of whether or not they help them.
Yeah.
So they want to get in on it. So this is the same kind of concept. You want to demonstrate to the agency that you've done your due diligence and you're going to make it happen, and you're basically executing really well on your stuff. That's kind of how I would leave you with that, I guess.
Great, thank you.
Just a quick question. Can I ask a question?
Oh yeah, go ahead, Bonsik. And then Lilia, we'll get to you next, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that NSF has STTR phase 2 active right now. If we already have this phase 1 funding completed from the US Air Force, are we allowed to apply for phase 2 to NSF program, skipping phase 1 of NSF?
No, NSF doesn't allow direct to phase 2.
Okay.
Yeah. At least as of now. They may change in the future, but as of now, they don't allow direct to phase 2s.
Yeah,
as an extension, even if we received the funding from US Air Force phase 1, can we reapply to NSF phase 1 if we want?
So NSF is a completely separate program. The winning something from the Air Force has no impact on applying for the NSF.
So technically we are allowed to apply.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, that's something that we do really well with all our startups is that and that's how you win this game. And there's data out there. I think I mentioned this, right? Like most of the previous awardees are folks who have submitted upwards of 10 or 12 proposals a year. And that's kind of why we designed our system to make it really easy to manage a lot of proposals all at the same time. And that's kind of why it's a monthly model, because you're going to be doing this. You have to get into the habit of just submitting a lot of different things with different ideas and stuff like that. So you can basically apply for multiple things. Just make sure there's different kinds of work. You aren't allowed to fund the same work from 2 different agencies because that's double dipping. But you can apply for different agencies, like regardless at all, and you will, and you should. That's how you'll win this game. You won't win by applying to one, sitting around and waiting. Right? It's like again, investor fundraising, right? You don't pitch to one investor and sit around and wait. You pitch to hundreds of investors and get to maybe 10 who hear you out, maybe 1 who gives you the money.
Well, this is an additional question. My impression about the NSF STTR program and let's say the US Air Force STTR program, they seem to have a kind of different orientation when it comes to the decision making. My impression was that NSF was much more oriented for something novel, something that is innovative, regardless of the performance of the system. Whereas, let's say the US Air Force funding seems to be, let's say, more practical, meaning that as long as the proposed idea has a good potential for actually performing what it is claiming, they may not really care much about how novel the idea it is, as long as it achieves a goal that is described. Is that kind of make sense to you, or it is not necessarily the case?
And maybe I'll take this one. Yeah, so there is a fundamental difference between the kind of things that are funded by the 2 agencies. I would not go as far as saying that the Air Force doesn't care if it's innovative or not, or novel or not, because if it's not novel, if they've seen it before, they won't fund the same contract, the same kind of work from 2 companies generally. It's just in their contracting mandate or whatever, they can't actually sometimes fund exactly the same products from 2 different companies, because that's a waste of contracting dollars from their side, from their budget. And so no, it has to be, you still have to demonstrate your differentiation of your product from everyone else. So it has to be innovative and novel or whatever. But yes, you are right in saying that it has to be much more practical and real. It's like they want to make sure that you're not fluffing stuff, because remember, it's a contract. They want to essentially buy this product when it's built, customized to their needs. Whereas NSF is a grant. They're giving you money to do stuff which basically you think is the right thing to do, important for the environment, important for the impact, commercial, all that stuff. So there's a fundamental difference between the 2.
Okay.
Hey, Professor, is it okay if I ask Rupak another question that's kind of like a tangent that someone raised a couple minutes ago?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. So Rupak, there's a question that is like, what are the obligations and responsibilities that come with receiving an I would say an SBIR and or STTR AF Ventures Award?
Yeah, so basically there's like a couple of things. First one is deliverables of milestones. There are 2 milestones that you have to deliver. The first one is due in 2 weeks after you get the award, which is basically your preliminary report. It's very simple. It's like your updated slide deck with any changes that have happened from the time you submit it to the time you won the award. And then your 1-pager sales sheet, which is basically what they will circulate within the entire Air Force's unit, all the different Air Force units to publicize your tech. And then maybe someone from the Air Force wants to connect with you. That's the first deliverable. Second one is due at the end of the 3 months, which is basically your final report. It's basically what you did throughout the 3 months and how you're going to move forward with your next phase, which is phase 2. That's from the deliverable standpoint. And that's pretty much all you need to do in terms of deliverables, right? You do have to make sure the money is managed right. When you get the money, you spend it on the right stuff, because when you get to phase 2, there will be a financial audit. And you will need to show that you've managed the money appropriately. You can't just go off and buy yourself a car or whatever. So you have to manage your money, the accounting properly. And those are basically the 2 things that you will need to do. And folks will walk you through these things as well. So when you win the award, what happens is that you get put into a cohort of all the different awardees from that round. So like you guys, if any of you win, you will be in the 21.2 kind of cohort. And so you'll be with the 300 plus companies that have won. And then you'll be going through that process with them, where every week you'll be on calls with them. They'll tell you what's expected, what the Air Force looks like, all that stuff. And when the deliverables are due, all that will be hashed out there. But it's a really simple phase 1 milestone deliverable process. It's not hard at all. NSF NIH can get a little tougher because it's a longer period, it's more money, and so there's more reporting required. And then also if you have like patents and stuff come out of that work, that you have to report as well. But that's about it in terms of reporting from AFWorks side, at least, or responsibilities, I guess, that you need to adhere to. What you'll want to do is the 3 months you want to spend on talking to as many Air Force potential customers within the Air Force, because your goal of the 3-month period is get that Air Force customer to agree to work with you for a phase 2, which is the way they do that is they give you an MOU, this is a memorandum of understanding, which is that this official document that they provide on the set format that AFWorks gives you. And in that, there's a full table of milestones that you have to agree upon with your Air Force customer, because that's what you'll propose to do in your phase 2. And that's like the most important element of your phase 2 application. So you have to spend the majority of your phase 1 effort, the 3 months you've got to spend on really drilling down on those milestones and how realistic they are, how much of an impact they'll have, all that stuff. So hopefully that answers that question.
Thanks, Rupak. I think Rick had his hand raised at one point. I'm not sure if he has any more questions, but.
No, that was just, I was going to make sure Rupak mentioned that you couldn't have duplicate work funded by the government.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no double dipping.
All right, policy. And Mark, anything else on your side, or does anybody else have anything? I'm good to go until, I don't have my next meeting until 1, so I can go for longer. I don't know what your schedule's like, Rupak.
My next one is coming up in 10 minutes, so okay. I'll probably bounce. Unless, but yeah, I mean, you all know how, most of you know how to reach me. I'm not hard to find. I'll also put my email here. And if you wanted to, but yeah, the best way is, again, put your information down here. So at least we have an idea that you want to apply for something, or you're interested in partnering with someone. And at least that way we can make those connections if we find the right fits for you guys. And Michael, you and I can share this entire list completely.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, perfect. Anything else at all that I can help with? If not, I'll bounce.
Going once. Going twice. All right, so hearing none. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Please reach out to Rupak and I. You know, we would love to do anything possible to support you. It's our privilege and our duty to do so. Yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, please don't be strangers. Reach out anytime.
All right, thanks, Michael, for arranging this as well. Cheers, man.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you all. Hope you have a great day.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, bye.